afternoon. Welcome to TCB's Minnesota Family Business Conversation Series. We're delighted to kick off our latest conversation series today. If you hear a little music in the background, that would be my 7th grader finishing up his class right now. So pardon the interruption in advance. I'm Allison Kaplan, and I'm just continuing to pivot and adjust and go with the flow. I'm editor-in-chief of Twin Cities Business, and we truly appreciate you joining us today over the lunch hour as we kick off our 5-week series highlighting our 2020 Family Business Award honorees. Each year, our judging committee selects companies that are not only strong financially, but have a transition plan, a legacy, and have proven that generation after generation, they can work together to create something enduring. And it's something that we can all be inspired by, whether or not we're working with blood relatives. So we hope you're able to glean some advice and inspiration from these conversations over the next few weeks. For those of you joining us live today, thank you for being here, and please feel free to use the comment section on your screen to ask questions, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can during our discussion. We will be recording this, of course, so you can go back and share it with colleagues and friends later. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to briefly thank our sponsors, all of whom are strong advocates for family business. Hubler for Family Businesses, Frederickson and Byron, University of St. Thomas Business Center, and the Platinum Group. You'll hear more insights today from Tom Hubler a little later in our program. Well, today we're going to speak with Charlie Cannon. He's CEO of Waytec, one of our 2020 Minnesota Family Business Award winners. Before we introduce Charlie, let's learn just a little more about Waytec. We've put together a little video for you. Let's take a look.
The business started with Wayne Larson, my uncle, and he had a customer that was having trouble with one of their wire harnesses. He said, well, I'm not the person to do that, but my neighbor's a car guy. He's a 16-year-old guy that likes working on muscle cars. So Wayne went to home, talked to neighbor Bob, and Bob built the harness for him over the next few days. And they brought it back to the customer, and then the customer really liked it. And they said, oh, can we get some more of those harnesses? And he's like, well, let me talk to Bob and see if he's got time. So they started making those, and the story got out, and other customers in the industry were asking about having somebody make harnesses for them too. They had a lot of their former competitors that were harness shops. They said, hey, if we give you the names of these customers, can you take care of them, but as long as you buy the product from us? So that's how we got into the stocking and then eventually the catalog.
Yeah, Wayne is much more the glad hander, and Norm is much more, call him the brass hammer. So he'd be always much more on the vendor side of, if we need something working on the vendor, he can make it happen. Wayne is much more the people pleaser, and you keep him in front of the customers.
Bob started working with my dad and Wayne full time, and he eventually became the president of the company before he retired a few years ago. And he's still actually an advisor to the business. His specialty is big projects. One of our core values is innovation, and that's kind of where Bob always fit in. And he's helped with a lot of the stuff you see in the warehouse today, the moving equipment, the conveyors, carousel, things like that.
This year we're honored to get this award, especially being the 50th anniversary of Waytec. So it's important for second generation to try to continue to carry on that legacy, and our mission statement that all of our owners, staff, managers, employees all believe in is we provide an exceptional customer experience, and we want to continue to do whatever we can to keep that going. And as we're growing, we don't want to lose sight of why are we all here, and it's the customer at the end of the day. So.
We're always focused on growth and taking care of the customers, always one of our key core values, and taking care of the employees as well. So our focus on the employees is they're each other's customer within the business, and so we like to look at it that way.
Honestly, the best part is just all the people, all the employees and the other owners. It's just that you're with a great team. Everybody works hard and wants to have a great atmosphere for work, and then take care of the customer too. That's one thing we really, really pride ourselves on is, sending out the correct stuff to the customer, the right quantity, the right pricing, taking the order correctly, shipping it correctly, and having the stock for the for the customer as well, and that's our main thing.
Working for a family business when you're not part of the family in this company is really easy because of the culture they created.
There's people working here that have been here 20, 30, 40 years, and I think that really speaks to that we have a good environment for people to work in. People actually enjoy coming here. And not only are they here for that long, they're also bringing in family members, spouses, kids, other relatives in order to work here as well. So clearly we've got something going for us.
Wayne always talks about just follow the golden rule. The most important thing about the company is its people. And when I watch Wayne and Norm make decisions back then, that was a long time ago, Wayne cared more about Norm, and Norm cared more about Wayne. And yet when they made decisions, it always was common on, number one, what's best for the customers and what's best for the long term of Waytec.
Joining us now is Charlie Cannon. Thank you for being here, Charlie, and congratulations to you and everyone at Waytec.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and honor to represent the Larson family, and can't thank you enough for all the time and attention you put into this.
Absolutely. It's been really fun to get to know you through this whole process, even virtually. I want to tell everybody a little bit about you beyond your title of CEO. Charlie is the CEO, as we said, and board chairman of Waytec. Under his leadership, Waytec's grown by more than 36% in the last 5 years. He previously held executive positions at Burger King, Haagen-Dazs, Miracle Ear, Play It Again Sports, and Fitness. He recently received the Ross McGlasson Award for Leadership in Community Service in recognition of a lifetime of supporting charities and community organizations. Charlie was born and raised in Excelsior, where he got his first experience in a family business working in restaurants owned by his parents. So you come at this rightly, Charlie.
Thank you.
So before we talk about the family business dynamic, we saw a little bit behind the scenes at Waytec, but for anyone who isn't familiar, just tell us a little more about what Waytec does today.
Yeah, I would be glad to. Waytec is a distributor of 12-volt components. We service all of North America. Our primary customers are small to medium-sized OEMs, as I said, all across the country. The segments that we operate in and that we service are where you'll find our parts is in trucks, trailers, agricultural equipment, construction equipment, emergency vehicles, recreational vehicles, and our parts contribute to the performance of those vehicles. We don't have anything proprietary to sell, but the thing we're most proud of, as you heard in the video, is our mission statement, and that is to provide an exceptional customer experience. So I'd like to tell you a story because it says, what is Waytec doing today? And this goes back to Wayne, Norm, and Bob, and it was in 1973. It was December 23rd. They were just getting ready to close up shop, and they were celebrating. They were having their Christmas party. Everyone in the company was there. All four of them, because it was early on, Wayne, Norm, Bob, and another employee. All of a sudden the phone rings and it's an order. And the customer realized that he has to get this order out right after Christmas Eve, Christmas, and he didn't have all the parts. Norm's on the phone. Bob says he can do it, might take a day or two, and he does it, consistent with what you've heard on the video. And now we got to figure out, because if you just do it normal freight, it's not going to get there. Well, Wayne and Norm figured it out, and they said, well, we'll deliver it. So Wayne was going on vacation with Bob. He was single at the time. They were heading out to go skiing, knocked on the customer's door and delivered it at 2 p.m. on Christmas Day. And that signifies, there was two things that happened that I think tells us about that. Number one, Wayne had always wanted to, and Norm always wanted to have a company that provided an exceptional customer experience way above the competition. But number two, his North Star was the customer experience. And I can tell you 50 years later, that still is the case. That is our specialty, and that's what we pride ourselves in. And so the leadership was set. The most valuable entity and people I'm so proud of is all of our employees that make that happen day in and day out. So in answer to the question, what are they doing today? I'm sitting here and they're all doing the same thing they've done since Wayne set the table way back when.
Well, that's great. And I'm curious, have you started writing down all of these stories, or are they just going to be passed down to the generations orally?
No, we're actually going to, we're actually, based on some of the stuff we've seen you do, we're going to hire that video, your team, and we're going to have them capture Wayne and Norm and we're going to have capture all of this so that we can have, have something for years and years to come. So we're looking forward to that.
That's so nice. I'm glad that the Family Business Awards kicked that off. Of
Yep.
course, everybody can read more about WATEC in the new issue of Twin Cities Business, which is just hitting newsstands this week and hopefully arriving in many of your mailboxes. So Charlie, this has not been a typical year, yet you continue to thrive and do well at WATEC. Where overall are you seeing the most growth and opportunity, and has that changed as a result of 2020 and COVID-19?
Yeah, it has, Allison, it has changed. I'll start with COVID. COVID-19, when that hit, we immediately had a downturn in business, no different than we had in the 08-09 recession, to the tune of about 20 or 30%. So when you say growth opportunity, it just wasn't there. However, here we are 6-7 months later, it is turning it around. But, we pride ourselves in creating our own growth when it's not there. And so what we do in down economic times is, number one, we increase our inventory significantly because we're known for making sure we have you can't sell from an empty cart. And our reputation is at stake if we don't have it. So number one, strategy number one, make sure we have the industry or the inventory in there, and we're lucky enough that the owners have the money and the funds to be able to do that. Secondly, because the whole game at this point is increase market share. Aggressive in advertising and marketing. We continually advertise, invest significant money in advertising and marketing, particularly in the website, where we know we're going to get a good return on investment. We want our logo in front of everybody so they come to it and experience WATEC for the first time. And then continue to increase our website experience and continue to increase training in our call center and customer facings. The biggest opportunity we have to increase shareholder value and increase and beat the competition is during down times. And so while others are cutting back, we get very, very aggressive in those four areas.
That's really interesting.
And it's turning around. We're now actually well above last year now. So it's taken a while, but we're back. We're well above last year.
Wow. And if you use this time to plan, that can kind of help you get ahead and hit the ground running as we begin to emerge.
Right. We know it's going to come back, and we want to be the best and most prepared when it does. And that's our strategy to do that. And, that's something Wayne and Norm started way back when, and the four shareholders have continued it all the way through. And it's a success formula that has worked really well for us.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the structure at WATEC. Something that we talked about in depth in our print article is how it's family owned and run, and there are several relatives involved, and yet they've always seen value in bringing in outside leadership, such as yourself. What do you think, what is that dynamic like from your own experience? And I'm curious what it's like to be running a family company, but not actually be one of the family members.
Well, it's fantastic, to be honest with you. It is, you've got, way back when, where that started was we were in a dialogue, this was back in 06, 07, as to, who's going to run the company. Is it going to be Mark? Is it going to be Pete, John, or Mike, or whatever? And then all of a sudden, and I think it was Mike, who's our chief operating officer, said, what do other companies, other second and third and fourth generation families do? What are they, who are the successful ones? Well, one of the common traits out of that whole thing was, as opposed to us lead it, which we've never done, us meaning the shareholders, why don't we go out and get someone really experienced that's run companies before, and we'll learn from them. And that's what happened. They all took employment in the company. They all grew in the company. But it was a formula that we learned from other companies that had been third and fourth generation families, and they adopted that. And that's how we run the company today. Bob was the first. He was the first employee, and he became president of the company, which is an incredible story. And then as he was getting later on in his years, they brought me in, and so now I've been here doing this from '06 as a board member, and then since 2011.
And you didn't initially expect to be, you didn't come in expecting to be CEO.
No, I did not. I came in as they asked me to come in as a board member, lean in and help them, guide them on the '08-'09 turnaround, and then how do you structure the family going forward? How do you depart from Wayne and Norm, keep what they have done so successfully, but how do you make it your own company? And we went through a 2 or 3 year period to do that. And we were really at the end. And then all of a sudden, Wayne and Norm said, we've done a lot and everything's going good, but we forgot to replace ourselves and asked if I would assume the responsibilities of chairman of the board and CEO. So it was great. And it was what a blessing, but it was not planned at all.
What appealed to you about staying on? What is it about this company that resonates with you?
The first thing that I saw was their undying commitment to take care of the customer and do everything it takes to do that. And we do a lot of customer research. So that was one thing that appealed to me. But more so was the culture of the family. And I'm going to talk about family for a minute. I got to know Wayne and the family, Wayne, Norm, and the 4 boys working together. I realized that this was something very, very different. They have fun together. They kid around with each other. They're incredibly knowledgeable in everything that they do. And it's a company that just thrives on, nobody in the company has themselves first. They all have others first, and that has carried down. The other part of family is Wayne has a wife named Sue, and Norm has a wife named Elaine. And after I got to meet them, I realized that those 4 people feel so great about what family is. And there's a story, if I could tell it really quickly, but during the recession of '08-'09, we're down 30%. You take productive people, and now they're unproductive. And there's fear in the air because their friends are getting laid off. Everyone's getting laid off. And we knew that if we laid those people off, they're not going to find work. And all of a sudden, one of the shareholders, and I don't remember who it was, said, well, is there anything else they can do? What about volunteer organizations? Well, lo and behold, we went down to feed our starving children. And they needed more people that they could do. We put small things into small boxes. That's what they do. And the shareholders went out to all the employees and says, no one's getting laid off. Everyone's got a full-time job. You will get full benefits, full employees, full bonuses, Christmas gifts, the whole shot. But you're going to be working in 2 places. You're going to be working here, and we'll right-size the productivity in the warehouse and throughout the building. And then you'll be going over and working over at Feed My Starving Children. And that took place for over a year. And to this day, that tells you something. Family is not just the Larsons. Wayne talks about family as being all of the employees, and they are so valued here, and we're not getting rid of them. We'll find work for them, and we'll get through and make sure we have the best team possible when we go back into good times. Wow. And that was a heartwarming story that people still talk about.
That's amazing. And I know you've had sort of a similar philosophy getting through the challenges of 2020.
Yeah, COVID-19 has been the same almost. There was no notice. Sales are going down. What was different about this is we had to move everybody out of the building. And as a leader, you never really know how your team is going to perform in crisis. And it's our 50th anniversary as well. And we couldn't celebrate, but I think maybe the biggest silver lining and the biggest celebration is that during a crisis time, watching these employees get everything done with no complaining, just doing whatever it had to have done. Quite frankly, it might be one of our better days in history, because they just did it in a seamless fashion. And the single biggest resource and most valued resource we have is not our inventory. It's not any of that stuff. It's our people. And Wayne and Norm and Sue and everybody, Elaine, all value that. And that has come down generation through generation. It is literally a family that takes care of everybody else first.
And
You don't see that often.
and I know that all of the family members are incredibly modest and humble and don't like to call themselves out, thus their decision not to, to kind of stay behind the scenes today. But I'm really curious, Charlie, since you are the boss, like, what are you able to boss around the owners? What is the dynamic like for you as the CEO working with the founding members of the family that started Waytech?
There's no boss here. I mean, it's funny. I'm the chairman of the board and CEO, but they're four as one. So I really report to all four of them and whatnot. But what it's like is actually a pleasure because we have a really solid plan. We all agree on the plan. There's no surprises at all. And when you run into COVID stuff, we all just work together to get everything done. So it can get a little intimidating at times, but you would never know it if you walked through the building. So we don't really operate as a boss. We operate as a team, and we operate as a credit to, you have the owner's hat, right? You got bosses running around the building. But some of the most gratifying things is when employees come in here, they're brand new or they've been here for about 90 days. And they will tell me that, if you didn't tell me who the Larsons were and that they were the bosses, I would never know. And they really wouldn't, because they're there to do their job and they're there to help people. And that's what they do. And so that's how so that dynamics of who's the boss and whatnot, it just doesn't exist because we all are cut from the same cloth. It's an incredible group of people that can create that. And that's all due to the Larsons.
And on that note, I just want to ask, what advice, and I mean, that's a great philosophy that any business could glean something from, but what advice do you have in particular for family businesses working as you do with relatives? Any advice for others who might be listening today?
Yeah, I think the advice that I would give is that have a very, very clear-cut mission, crystal clear-cut, and make sure everyone in the building knows exactly, what it is. And that can go astray from time to time. I would also say that you continue to take care of your employees in every way possible. Giving back to the community is huge, and the Larsons give back to the community in a very big way. We will never, ever sell any more products by giving back to our community. There's so many people that are needy and whatnot, and the Larsons individually, I individually, and as a company give back in a very big way. But just the other day, I was out at the golf course, and I don't want you to think I'm a good golfer because I'm not, but we were on a putting contest with some of the neighbors, and it was over in Chaska. And I didn't know these people. We were just having fun, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I work at Waytech." And they said, "Waytech? Well, I think you need to know something." And I said, "Oh, what's coming on this?" And they said, our neighbors' kids work for you, and you are known as being one of the kindest and most friendly groups of people that they've ever worked for. You pay well, you feed us well, you give us holiday gifts, and we're only part-time. And you just need to know how well thought you are thought out in the community. So the giving back is really become an employer of choice, become known in the community for giving back, and it will come back to you tenfold for sure.
Great advice. We do have a question from someone in our audience. Jim wants to know, with the COVID pandemic lasting for more than 9 months now, how has Waytech maintained its team environment with so many people forced to work remotely?
We continually, I think one is the first part of it was making sure they got, from an IT standpoint, we gave them everything that they needed to do do what they were doing at work. I mentioned earlier that we're very high on customer surveys, and we too, this was actually a dialogue that we had with the owners. Let's make sure we call them on a regular basis and do a survey, and how are they doing? What are they doing? Do you need anything? Do you have everything you need? What are we missing? And truly care about them as people first, and make sure they have everything they want. We do have some social things going on through chat and whatnot that happen, but I think it's just genuinely keeping in touch with them. We just went through back to school, And, that's change. And so we want to make sure that we know about everything that's going on in their lives going back to school, because it's change. And we want to make sure that while there's so much crazy things going on, stay in touch with them, understand their needs individually, and try to make sure we provide for those needs. It's hard because we're not around them, but there's ways to communicate.
Right. And you can just kind of feel the family culture throughout. So what a great way to lead. Charlie, thank you for taking the
Can I do one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
Is that okay? We do a lot of kidding around here. And what I found out a little bit earlier, John Larson was spreading through the building, and he said, Charlie, what you really ought to do is go into COVID times and put on your sunglasses and pretend you know what you're doing. And
there you go.
John, that one's for you. And when the Larsons come into the building, Norman, Wayne, and whatnot, that's kind of what it's like. We're just having fun and enjoying the business.
And that's the look of 2020, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Charlie, to you and everybody, to the Larson family and everybody on the WAITEC team, congratulations. I hope everyone takes the time to read all about WAITEC in our October-November issue. It's really a great story and such an amazing legacy. So thank you for your time, Charlie, today. And now we are going to welcome Tom Hubler from Hubler for Family Business. Tom is the founder of the Family Business Awards. He's a longtime partner of TCB, and he's spent his career helping family-run companies develop successful business practices, from succession planning, leadership development, managing conflict, and board development. He's served on the advisory board for the Center for Family Enterprise at the University of St. Thomas, and he's a member of the editorial board for the Family Business Review. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Allison. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, as somebody who lives and breathes family businesses day in and day out, listening to Charlie and learning about WAITEC, obviously you were part of the committee that selected them. What stands out to you about WAITEC? Why are they a good example of family business?
So when I first started this 13 years ago, what I wanted to do was to recognize outstanding family businesses. And WAITEC exemplifies everything that's wonderful about family businesses, particularly in terms of their culture, their commitment to family values and the development of the family. One of the other things that Charlie mentioned is what I would describe, and it has to do with Wayne and Norm, and it really starts there from my perspective, is what they have is a reciprocal commitment to each other's success. And that dynamic runs throughout the company, it runs throughout the family, and it's exemplified in their notion of service. I mean, the idea of taking their employees and providing service to a nonprofit and their commitment to their employees is just extraordinary. And one of the other things that Charlie said, he says, we don't have a boss around here. And I always tease clients and say, well, there is no boss, but the real boss is an acronym. And the B is the commitment to the business. And they have a big commitment to their business and service and being number one. But the thing that's unique about them is the O part of that acronym, which is a reciprocal commitment to each other's success. And that's what distinguishes them. And then the S is, what do you want for yourself? And you can't have a team when you only think about what, for yourself. And so they have a common vision that's, again, that Charlie mentioned, that is throughout the company, that everybody knows what it is. And then the last S is, what do you want for the other stakeholders? And again, their commitment to their employees, to the community, to everybody is exemplary. And that's why they were selected, because they are the personification of an outstanding family business.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tom, for your expert perspective. I love that acronym. You should do this for a living or something. Thank you, Tom. Thank you again to WAITEC. So much great information today. A great way to kick off this series and celebrate family businesses this month in Twin Cities Business. We'll be back next week for an interview with Paula Gamer, president of Gamer Packaging. Thank you again to Hubler for Family Businesses, Frederickson and Byron, the University of St. Thomas Business Center, and the Platinum Group. And of course, thank you all for joining us. We will put this online along with the rest of our conversations, and you can also look for the stories from the issue on tcbmag.com in the coming days. Thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.